What more can this Rockets team do now to compete with the Lakers?
I can't believe that I have to be the one to say this because obviously Russell Westbrook showed up last night, dropped 30, okay, and shot 54% from the field and 50% from three-point range. James Harden, what did he have? I think, what is it, 33 points on 47% shooting. They did their jobs for the most part. Is somebody going to get Eric Gordon some open shots? Because when you actually get plays and get this man the ball and give him some space, Eric Gordon could hurt you. Now, last night wasn't indicative of that because he shot 2 of 9 and only finished with 10 points. But this brother right here is somebody that needs to be unleashed. It amazes me. If you look at the last several years, Max, that Houston has fallen short in the postseason. Eric Gordon always gets going, and then suddenly they don't get him the ball. They got to get this man the ball, and they've got to get this guy some open shots. If Eric Gordon is open, Eric Gordon will kill you. They need to get him the ball, get him more involved in the offense, actually create opportunities where you draw attention to yourself and kick it out to him so he can have some open shots. Yeah, he's going to struggle making contested shots. That's true. But if you get him the ball open, he can drill those shots. I think that definitely will go a long way. And even though I love him with Covington, I'd like to see Austin Rivers get more than 10 minutes. Why? Because he actually defends. And obviously, that's something that Houston has been doing very, very well of as of late, especially in bubble play. Make no mistake about it. But nevertheless, he doesn't hurt you in that department. And I think he could do some things for you as well. Obviously, he's not more important than Harden and Westbrook. Not even Eric Gordon, not even Covington. But you need to be able to find more time for him so those guys got fresh legs come the fourth quarter as opposed to appearing gassed out. Rondo coming in, enabling LeBron James to get some rest, whether he was on the court but off the ball or on the bench because Rondo was in the game running the offense. Somehow Frank Vogel and his staff have been able to spell for LeBron James. D'Antoni and those boys have not appeared to have been able to do that for a James Harden. And that's what you need. And to Russell Westbrook to a lesser degree. You've got to get somebody in the game that can spell for them so come fourth quarter, they're really fresh and ready to go. I think getting Eric Gordon the ball and getting a few more minutes for Austin Rivers, I definitely think will go a long way for them.
James Harden has to play big, obviously, and this is always the theme for me with the Rockets, but I'm not going to go there right now. I think really the issue for the Rockets is, are they going to have their full complement of players available, Stephen A? Like, when you look at it, we just had this argument the other day, who's the most pressure on in this series? And I said AD. That was the guy that you singled out before the playoffs started. I thought AD because we know what we're going to get from LeBron. And the Lakers supporting roster is not as good as the Rockets. But then playoff Rondo, Rondo's not that old. He's like 33 or, he's just been around forever. But you would still think, given the regular season he had, given his age, he's the same old playoff Rondo. He goes from nowadays a below average regular season player to an all-star when you need him the most. It's a definition of clutch, right? Other than basketball genius and everything, but he's clutch. Who is that on the Rockets? What supporting player on the Rockets? Now, because Harden and Westbrook are not as good as LeBron and AD, they can't let the Lakers supporting roster outplay the Rockets supporting roster. Is Daniel House going to be available? He's not played. He didn't play because of personal. Is he going to be available? Is Robert Covington going to be available? Because he got hurt. Are they going to have their fifth and sixth best players? Because Eric Gordon, of course. Eric Gordon needs to ball because they need more support, Harden and Westbrook. But you also need Covington and House and P.J. Tucker. And if the Rockets are shorthanded, if they don't have two of their best 5 or 6 players, they're not going to be able to beat the Lakers. They're not. Let's put it this way. Maybe if James Harden loses his mind and starts doing his regular season 50-point games against the Lakers, he could overcome it. And he's played well these playoffs, and he's played clutch. But barring some miracle play by Harden like that, they're not going to be able to beat the Lakers without Covington, without House, without everybody, because AD and LeBron are too good.
Well, again, we're saying the same thing. We're just using different bodies. What we're talking about is Houston beating you by committee. That's what we're talking about here, Max, and they definitely need to do that. There's no question about it. But the point is that by committee, that means getting a slew of bodies involved where the Los Angeles Lakers don't know who to look for to go out and defend because Harden and Russell Westbrook are using their exceptional skills not just to create opportunities for themselves, but for other people. Make sure you feed Covington. Make sure you feed Gordon. Make sure you feed an Austin Rivers. Make sure you feed Danuel House. Make sure you feed all of these individuals. That way, the Lakers can't just spy or help out as exceptionally as they customarily do. Instead, they got to stay at home with their man because they can't afford to leave anybody open because everybody's draining shots. This is what D'Antoni's agenda was. Now, I know it sounds unreasonable when you're talking about conventional wisdom and the typical teams that are out there, but D'Antoni goes about the business of putting as many shooters on the floor as possible because he wants anybody open to take the damn shot. He knows that there's an exception with James Harden because he can dance on the world. He knows there's an exception with Russell Westbrook who can get to the basket at will. But with everybody else, if you don't shoot open shots, D'Antoni will put you on the bench just for not taking a shot. And oh, by the way, he wants it to be a 3. Don't go out there and make a long 2. He might bench you for that. You either make a layup or you make a 3-point shot. That's how that's how he wants his game played. Get as many bodies as you can to put it on the floor. That's what he's done. So I expect some of them to be able to make shots.
Right. Yeah, but Covington has to be healthy enough to play. And House, the good news is, I think the rule is if
he was
you
healthy
take
until last night.
If it's that's what I'm saying. If you take a personal day, in other words, like you can't play for personal reasons and you don't leave the bubble, then you're available for the next game. So apparently House never left the bubble, so he'll be available. But they need him, and they need Covington, and they need those guys to be available, and they have to ball or they can't win.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.